All right, welcome back. This is one of the harder things we will talk about in this class. We're talking about the emergence of African slavery in North America. Now, one of the things that's going to happen is that sugar crops are going to replace tobacco crops in Barbados. While tobacco production is backbreaking labor, sugar production is even worse. You have to get your sugar canes, you have to grow them, you have to break them down, you have to take them apart. They're hard. If you've ever held a sugar cane, they're hard. Then you have to scrape the insides and boil it down and then strain it, and then what's left over will become the sugar. You have to let it cool and crystallize. It is not easy labor. Now, the Dutch are going to teach the English how to grow sugar, but they're going to teach them that with slave labor. So the first African slave ships to reach North America will land on our shores in 1619. John Rolfe will write that a Dutch ship sold us 20 blank. I will let you read that word. If you would rightfully read the quote, it is on page 8 of the part 2 slideshows. The first Africans in the region are Creoles. They have a strong sense of slavery, and that includes how to negotiate with their masters, because they've been slaves in the islands, right? Like in Barbados and places. However, some of these first Africans are treated more like servants, and they can actually get their freedom after a set number of years of work. This is basically like a caste system. It starts off weak. Some slaves win freedom. Some have masters who will fall in love with them. They get freedom for that too. They become people's wives. But slavery in North America is going to shift and change over time. In the late 17th century, as indentured servitude begins to end, slaves will take the place of these servants. Most of these first slaves actually come from Barbados in the sugar production. In the 1660s, laws in Virginia about slavery will start to shift the lines between the free and the unfree. They'll start to have very clear definitions of who is free and who is not. Common law practice of this time has been that a child born to a slave mother had freedom, but the law changes so that children who are born to slave women become slaves. Now, when you think about the bigger picture of this, if a master is sleeping with his slave, who is a female, and she gets pregnant, those babies are slaves. So it continues to give him profit. However, if the mistress of the house were to have an affair with one of her slaves and produce a child, that child would have to be taken care of by the family because it isn't considered a slave. Obviously, that child is not going to look like the other children in the family who are the husbands, right? So these are some of the reasons that things like this is where we start to see that first emergence of it's okay for white men to sleep with black women, but it is not okay for white women to sleep with black men. This is the emergence of that ideology, and it all roots back to slavery. The change is going to and then we're going to see the biggest change. And this is what will set chattel slavery in the Americas apart from every other area of the world. And this is that there is a change from temporary servitude to lifelong and hereditary slavery, chattel slavery, right? This is the big defining difference between what happens here in the United States with slavery and literally slavery anywhere else. Now, the Puritans in North America are they have a lot of thoughts about this, right? The Pilgrims were separatists from England. We have Puritan covenant theology. They believe that God made these covenants with human and that we're supposed to be communal with one another. They really have strong family life. Deaths are rare among the Puritans, even with winters. They have healthier families. Infant mortality rate is the lowest seen in the colonies. Men have the longest life expectancies, and women aren't dying in childbirth. One of the things that's unique about the Pilgrims is that they actually avoid slavery. Now, the Baptists and Quakers are also going to have a lot of ideas on this. Children of settlers don't really understand religious persecution because they were raised in an area that didn't have that. Their parents remember the religious persecution from England. So this is what's going to basically cause these children to become dissenters. They don't understand. The Baptists are going to believe that you should not be baptized until you have free will to choose so. This means you don't baptize infants, right? You make a choice to be baptized, and you that's a covenant that you do, and you make those choices as an individual. The Quakers are going to believe that salvation is available to all with their own inner light. So ministers are going to want parents to bring their children before the church to be baptized. The Quakers are a really family-based religion, and they really believe a lot in remaining families or having strong family community bases. So they're going to really be motivated to migrate. 10,000 people will move in 15 years, beginning in 1675. The Quakers believe that God is within us all. We all have an inner light. And they believe that you should turn your cheek to those who persecute you. They're pacifists, and they don't have any oaths. They believe that any oaths are like sinful, because your relationship with God should be like your relationship with anyone else. You should be able to talk to God, right? They're very peaceful. They're super orderly people. But people think their beliefs are problematic and dangerous. I'd ask yourself why that is. Now, women within the Quaker communities have equal rights with men. Women have complete equality. Some women even become preachers, and women get to be at meetings where decisions are made. I would argue that line there, women getting to have equality, is one of the reasons that a lot of these other colonists are not liking the Quakers, right? We still have a fight for women to have equality in our country today, and women had complete equality within the Quaker communities. So kind of cool. But we're going to tie up things here and have a great week. Bye.